Hey there, a Rational Theist here, Jason Restwick. If you're just getting here, if you listened to the first one and are now onto the second, thank you for joining me for Season 1, Episode 2. I'm not sure how long I'll keep the seasons, but that's what my website suggested, so I went with it. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what I talked about yesterday with our flawed leaders and these idolized men and women of the past and how we reconcile that with our everyday beliefs and how do we find people that inspire us and encourage us in the midst of a fallen world, because some stuff has recently come out about the Pope. I talked about it a little bit with the Discord and Harmony podcast this past week, episode 6. But I mean, this has been going on for ages. We have so many of our leaders that just are flawed individuals. And I think one of the biggest problems that I currently see and feel is that our society, I guess you call it society, has a hard time talking about everything at the same time. They have a hard time messing with the dichotomy of, well, we have good and bad. And with what I mentioned about the Pope just a second ago, he had a quote where he ultimately alludes to the idea that everybody has a good heart. And that's not my theology. I think God uniquely and distinctly made us in his image, as we see in Genesis 1. But then we very quickly see the fall thereafter. And thus, everything that transpires thereafter, and the need for Jesus, and the need for his grace, and the need for the Holy Spirit. And so for me, the idea that, sure, like, I think we all have good inside of us, but we all have to overcome the sin that we live with on an everyday basis. And so to think that there are any perfect individuals or these people of the past that are flawless, I think that's foolish. Like, we have tons of examples where, sure, somebody can be a great leader, but it doesn't mean that they don't have things that they've swept under the rug. And, there's a podcast I listened to. It's called The Holy Post. They just had a really good focus on specifically some of the pioneers of our faith in the colonial times with Edwards and Wesley and Whitefield, and how ultimately these guys were slaveholders and pretty crappy. And does that mean that I have to throw them out with everything else? I don't think so. But I think there is a conversation that needs to be had where, yeah, these guys were cowards in certain aspects of their lives in order to do what they felt was right at the time. But now that we are in the times that we have today, I think we need to be that much more zealous in trying to discern, okay, what are we throwing out? Like, are there things that we're looking away from that maybe we shouldn't be? That, okay, the leaders that we see around us that are just accommodating individuals for the greater good and for the idea of evangelism. And hey, we don't want to create too big of a controversy, because if we do that, then we could lose our authority. We could lose individuals and in our congregations or whatever it is. And I'm done with that. I really am done with that. And I'm done with people getting away with things they shouldn't be getting away with. And that is a big part of why I'm currently not attending the church that I have my wife and my oldest son going to. Is there are a lot of things that I feel are not being addressed, And it really bothers me. And I'm not going to create a huge ruckus, verbally, and go in there and yell and scream and flip over tables, but I am not going to allow for my presence and my affirmation to be something they have. And if they want to talk about it, okay, we can talk about that. But that's where I'm putting my foot down. And I think so many times in history we see that, and of people just accommodating or allowing certain things for the greater good. But to me, that was at the root of what I was talking about yesterday with the Trump and the Biden thing. Like, I just can't, dude. Like, you guys are both pieces of crap, and you're not my guys. And I understand you could sit there and say I'm throwing away my vote, not voting for you, but I don't align with you, either of you guys. And ultimately, I'm not held to America. Like, I'm grateful for where I was born. I've been uniquely blessed by the genetic lottery, however you want to say that. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to cast my vote towards either of you guys, because I believe that my God's greater, and I'm a part of the greater Christian narrative around the world, that whatever happens, I've got my own voice, my unique voice, and I think we should just be more comfortable with talking about the good with the bad. That whether it be the name of the elementary school or that's a big thing. Okay, we're bringing back the generals of the Civil War and all that crap. Like, okay, people can throw. Let's just get it out there. Okay, you're gonna put somebody's name back out there. My deal is put an asterisk, but he did bad things. This is the name. Unfortunately, did bad things. I don't know. I just feel like within the greater Christian narrative, it'd be better if we could be more transparent and be more mature with our conversations. That it's not these places where we don't talk about those things, but we talk about them with grace and also vulnerability, to sit there and say, well, let's process all of this at the same time so that we can come out with the best result on the other side. Which brings me to my review of the day, which is the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. It is the place where I got the name of Clay and I's podcast, Discord and Harmony. It is a quote from Winston Churchill within the movie, where Gus March Phillips, who is the iconic figure behind James Bond, him and his clan get together and are looking for vengeance against the Nazis. And Winston Churchill recruits them and says, we need you, because at the end of the day, we know you will not specifically follow orders that maybe the generals of the British Army and the tactics of their war depended upon. He understood, I need somebody like you guys to go and try to get in behind enemy lines, sink all the Nazis, so that we can get the Americans across the Atlantic, because we need some help. Otherwise, we could lose this war. And so the movie goes and shows this very brutal, often poetic and jazzmic kind of sequences, where it's a casual kind of violence and casual murdering of lots and lots of people, with this little crew that Gus Phillips has. But it's fun and artistic, and to me, that is what I'm looking for in this world. I think that when I think about what it is that Jesus is trying to mobilize, it is bands of misfits. It's a group of people that maybe to the outside, or maybe to the overall common society, they look at them and like, man, that's a ragtag group of guys. Can they pull it off? I guess we'll wait and see. But oftentimes I see these ragtag groups of people end up doing amazing things. And you see that with Jesus and the disciples. You see that with Gus Phillips and his crew. that they're able to get behind enemy lines, destroy the Nazi submarines, and ultimately lets America come into the war, and you see what happens there. And I think I don't want to be too enthusiastic, but I do love the movie. It gets 4 stars from this guy. And if I could find a band of misfits, I have a few around me that I really appreciate and love. And you that are listening to this know who you are. I'm not going to call everybody out, but I'm so appreciative of the band of misfits I have around me. And so I just want to encourage you guys to find yours and to be unapologetic about finding those unique people that, for whatever reason, God's brought into your lives, and bring them close, hug them, and talk about what it is that God's calling you guys to do together in the same way that I guess Phelps did. I guess that's all I got for you today. That is the episode.